Yo, what's going on, everybody? This is Shok, and just want to do a quick impressions video of Pokken Tournament. I did buy the game, and just before I get to my actual impressions, my little review here, I guess you could call it, because really there's not much going on in the game, so I pretty much already beaten it at this point. But just for some context, I was not looking forward to this game at all. I was not checking for it. You can ask tons of people, ask Trey specifically. I was like, it doesn't look bad, just as a casual game, a little fun, casual thing to play, whatever. But I thought in terms of, being a serious fighter and in terms of depth, I thought the game looked pretty awful. And looking back at it, I think the reason why is because, a lot of early footage was just, amateurs playing the game. It wasn't necessarily, high level play and things like that. So the game seemed a lot slower than it was, and it seemed a lot more just button mashy and not very technical at all, right? But Pokken came out on the 18th, was it? Last Friday, yeah. And one of my friends was in our little Discord we have going, and he had the game, and he was talking about like, "Yo, Shok, this is actually pretty good, man. Like, it's actually a lot deeper than you would expect it to be." Um, and I was watching some footage of some people who got early release copies, such as Shofu. And so I did listen to his impressions as well. So I pretty much combined the consistency between what him and a couple other YouTubers who got their game early were saying, as well as my friend Fragmented. And I caved in, peer pressure got me, and I bought the game. Do I enjoy it? Yes, I do. I actually think the game is really, really good. Um, Based off of what I played so far, which is pretty much 99% of the game, I pretty much beat like the main story. I saved Mewtwo from the evil stone or whatever. Nobody really cares about stories and fighting games like that. Unless the Mortal Kombat, that story mode is dope. But I've done all the leagues except the last one, Chrome League. And there's not much single player content going on. No, it's not as bad as Street Fighter 5 because at least Pokken Tournament does have a full, story mode or whatever. And the leagues will take you a while. They'll last you maybe 8 hours or something like that probably. I'm not sure. It depends on how good you are at the game really. But yeah, content is pretty sparse when it comes to the single player and whatnot. But I am enjoying the game. I'm enjoying the game very thoroughly. And just like my friend in the Discord said, it's very deceptive at first sight. The game is actually a lot deeper than you expect it to be. Now, no, I'm not saying that it's the same depth as, King of Fighters. It's the same depth as Street Fighter. I wouldn't even go as far as to say that it's even as deep as Melee. And I'm not talking about, executional standpoint, because Pokemon, of course, has Pokken has a harder execution curve than Smash does, yes. But there's not as much going on in Pokken as there goes on, in Melee. Smash 4 for sure, yeah. Pokken definitely has a lot more going on than Smash 4 in my opinion, but Melee, definitely not. But there's a lot more than meets the eye. For instance, one of the two main things is that there's two layers of triangles. And if you guys play, the Fire Emblem games, or other not other fighters, because Fire Emblem isn't a fighter, but other fighters, besides Pokken or whatever, you kind of understand what I mean. You know how in Fire Emblem, swords beat, was it axes, and axes beat lances, and lances beat swords, that kind of triangle there. That's going on with Pokken. There's this thing called counterattacks, which pretty much, if you guys have played Street Fighter 4, they're literally focus attacks, and you can even cancel them. So it's pretty much when you hold down the X and A, and your Pokemon do like a little focus thing, they'll glow blue, and they can absorb some hits and then counter afterward and stuff like that. Or if you don't want to, you could also just hit shield while you're charging up the counter, hit a dash direction, and you could dash out of it just like a FADC in Street Fighter. So it's really, really cool. And you can do this in both dual phase and field phase, which I'll talk about later. So to beat counters, of course, grabs beat counters, just like they did in Street Fighter 4. And in this game, normals, of course, beat the grabs. So normals beat grabs, grabs beat counters, and counters beat normals. That's the first triangle layer. The second triangle layer is, with overheads, aerials, and low attacks. Low attacks can dodge your enemy's heavy attacks. And yeah, the lows dodge the higher hitting, attacks, whatever, the anti-airs. And then the anti-airs, of course, hit the aerials, and then, of course, the aerials hit the low attacks. Yeah, that's what it is, yeah. So that's pretty much the second layer of the triangle right there. So pretty much this game, a lot of the time, comes down to rock, paper, scissors. Now, I know a lot of fighting game fans don't necessarily like that. Of course, there's always going to be rock, paper, scissors in every fighting game, right? That's going to be in every fighting game always. But in most other fighting games, you have to actually work yourself to get to that situation, to put yourself and your opponent in that 50-50 situation, right? That's where Pokken is pretty much a 50-50, 75% of the time. You see what I mean? It's much more integrated into the core of the actual mechanics, the core of the actual gameplay, rather than like, oh, I got you on Wake Up Now. Now you gotta do 50-50. Pokemon is kind of a 50-50 most of the time, regardless of what the situation you're in. You see what I mean? So that might be off-putting to some. Personally, it doesn't bother me because I like thinking, I like conditioning my opponents, and I like punishing them for it. So I'm cool with it. Now, of course, the first thing people notice about this game is, it's an arena fighter. And the mode you guys see where they're kind of running around freely, that's called a field phase. And in field phase, you have certain moves that are only available in field phase that aren't available in dual phase, which is, of course, when it's kind of like Tekken mode, where you can only go back and forth, on a 2D plane. And pretty much this mode, honestly, not too big of a fan of it. Maybe it's because it's my character, which is Sceptile. That's what I'm playing. But field phase is pretty much projectile heaven, right? That's where your character could use all these freaking projectiles. And a lot of the characters have like these big, bangy, just, ridiculous area covering things or whatever. But there is counterplay. You can use your, I'm just going to call them FADC cancels. You use your, your counter cancels to, absorb hits and then go in. I'm not saying it's broken or OP, when people spam these moves. I'm just saying it's annoying, but there is actual counterplay. Don't like this phase at all. I try to hit people out of this phase as quickly as I can so I could go into dual phase, which is the phase I really, really enjoy this game. And sometimes I'm thinking to myself, I find myself thinking like, man, I wish it could just be in dual phase at all times. But, field phase is cool. It's cool. I just think that the main reason why I don't enjoy it so much as other people do is because Sceptile's field phase isn't really as strong as other characters. I think if I played a character with the normal field phase, I'd enjoy it a lot more. You see what I mean? So probably some personal bias going on right there. But dual phase is, of course, when you get up close and personal, and that's when you do all your combos. And yeah, there is YYY, combos and XXX. But those are just, standard ones. And you can, with a lot of characters, deal more damage if you actually go for the more intricate, less brain dead combo. So when you guys see YYY and XXX and Pokken, don't think, oh, that's it. There's two combos. It's just a button masher. Because there are things like, up A, X, cancel the X move. Yeah, you could cancel some of your normals and stuff like that into a dash. You can actually pop people in the air, hit them, and then dash under them for a cross up like you do in Street Fighter, stuff like that. And of course, you could jump over people as well. Like I said, there's definitely more than meets the eye. This game, it pleasantly surprised me. It has a surprising amount of depth. Not incredible or anything. I'm saying surprising compared to what I initially thought was already there. There are some frame sensitive links that you have to do actually. So it's not just Mortal Kombat dial combo. Matter of fact, Pokken's combos, outside of the XXX and YY, of course, Pokken's combos are actually harder to do than Mortal Kombat's. Mortal Kombat's actually the easiest fighter to do combos in. Pokken is actually harder than that because some of the links you have to do has to be almost frame perfect. It's very time sensitive. Some combos are height sensitive depending where the opponent is when they're in the air. You have to make sure you input the move at the right time, not too low or not too high, so you don't miss them. Stuff like that. So there are some intricate things here, and the movement options are very good when you're in dual phase. You can kind of do the shimmies that you do in Street Fighter, except shimmying in this game is actually a lot faster and a lot more of a viable tactic, as well as doing the FADC dashes. You can mix those in there as well. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do. So really this metagame is going to be centered around mind games. It really is. It's not going to be so much who has the most damaging combos. It's going to be whoever's going to be the top players in this game is going to depend on who's the best at mind fucking their opponent. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what it's going to boil down to. So yeah, I like it a lot, and yeah, I mean, Sceptile don't really, I don't know, I just don't really have an affinity for any other character in the game. I don't know what it is exactly, not sure, but it is what it is. The online is very good. You could find a match in 5 seconds on the online. That matchmaking is quick as hell. And when you boot up the online, the notification pops up and says, "Hey, we will punish you for rage quitting." So that was just a huge kick in the balls to Capcom because freaking Pokken had that feature in, punishing rage quitters from day one. So that's pretty dope. But yeah, the matchmaking is hella fast, people. It's the fastest matchmaking I've ever seen in fighting game history. Literally 3 seconds, you could be in a match. You just finished a match, searching for a match. 1, 2, 3. Opponent found. That fast, no exaggeration. You guys can watch videos and see this. It is fast as hell. So that's really good. The netcode is pretty good. Of course, it's not dedicated servers, so it's still going to be largely dependent on the players that you run into. But the netcode is definitely better than Smash 4's from what I've played. Definitely for sure. So most of the time, if you are going to have a shitty connection with somebody, that means that that person or yourself has a very, very shitty connection. Yeah, but the online is it's really good. It's really cool. Has private games, of course. No lobbies. It's just 1v1. At least that's all I've seen. I only got online to do private games once. Outside of that, I've only done ranked. But yeah, it's really cool. Just a couple of extra tidbits. No, the elementals don't matter in this game. Blaziken isn't like super effective against Sceptile, or anything like that. The skill points. When you're playing the single player, your Pokemon levels up, and you can actually assign skill points into attack, defense, synergy, and strategy. That does not carry over to online. Online, the stats don't matter. Everyone's just on kind of a default stat basis, so that way it's fair. But offline, when you're playing against the CPUs and you're playing in the leagues, that's when your skill point allocation will matter. So that's really a cool little RPG kind of element. Well, not even our Pokemon. Let's just say Pokemon element. That they actually threw in to Pokken. So that's pretty cool. But like I said, offline there's really not much to talk about. But the tutorials are very good, and the tutorials will last you like actually a while. There's actually a lot to take in with this game, and none of these individual mechanics, none of these individual factors within themselves are complicated. It's just that when you put them all together and you're trying to keep everything in memory while you're playing, that's when things start kind of getting like complicated and actually deep. Not necessarily on the execution, not on the execution side of things, just the breadth of things that are actually in the game. Simple things, a bunch of simple things, but it's like 50 simple things you have to keep in mind at all time, and all of them are pretty important. So it's not like, oh, I can just forget that mechanic completely or forget this aspect. Got to try to keep all things in mind at all times, because that's the only way you're going to win. So, and that way, Pokken is very deep and actually a lot more convoluted than it actually seems. But like I said, it's not like King of Fighters or anything like that. But it has its cool stuff. It has mix-ups. It has cancels. It has wall combos. Fake outs. Movement options for baiting and punishing. It has supers. All that, and it has the support call-ins, which you can use to do special combos that you're going to do with support call-ins, just like Marvel. So really, this game, it's a fighting game. A lot of people will look at this, guys. I don't care about Pokemon. I mean, I bought X and Y, but that was the first Pokemon game I bought since Gold and Silver, so I skipped a lot. I own 3 Pokemon games: Red, Gold, and X. Out of all the games that exist, I only own 3. So I don't consider myself a Pokemon fan or anything like that. I don't really care for Pokemon like that. So I'm not being biased here or whatever, but it's a fighting game. And there is some depth, to be discovered here. So a lot of you guys might look at it, especially those of you who aren't Nintendo fans, you might look at it and be like, this is fucking Pokemon. Like, what is this kiddie ass, bullshit? Like, no way this is actual serious game. I kind of thought the same, and not because it was Pokemon, but I was, just looking at the game, and I was thinking the same thing. And I was wrong, folks. I was wrong, and kind of disappointed myself for doing that, because I remember after I played Shadow of Mordor, and I was blown away by that game. I was like, okay, I need to stop judging games. I need to start playing them. I need to try to expand my horizons. and try things out that I would normally look at and automatically dismiss, and I forgot about that, and Pokken reminded me of that. So I'm going to try to do that in the future. And by the way, the reason why I was surprised about Shadow of Mordor, because when I first saw it, I was like, this is just an Assassin's Creed skin with Lord of the Rings, and that's it. Played the game, it really wasn't. That game was freaking awesome. Very, almost, it's not underrated from a review standpoint, but very underrated in the sense that I didn't really see a lot of gamers, clamoring and talking about the game when it was out, when it did come out. That game was freaking amazing. I don't know why you people weren't talking about it. I played it a little late. But getting off topic, I rambled on long enough, guys. Yeah, Pokemon it's a solid game. Kind of lacking in content, but the online is good. The depth is good. The roster, a little small, 16 characters altogether, I believe. But each character counts because each character plays very differently. Each character is very unique, their own character. And I like how you can have your own play styles within the characters and the supports and whatnot. So lots of meat in the actual gameplay and the battle system of the game. Just not so much of the actual offline content and stuff like that and whatnot. But I give the game an 8 out of 10. Solid game. If you guys are looking for just something casual, fun to play, sure, go ahead for it. If you're also looking for something to be a little serious in, check it out as well. It appeals to both. But as for this video, y'all, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.